invite, actually, Ana Cristina Diadio, who's an economist with the team that analyzes pensions or pension policies and retirement systems within the Division of Social Policy of the OECD. Did I get it right? Yes. So thank you. And please.
I don't know who's this.
Aviv?
Okay. Hi to everyone, and thanks. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this workshop. That is on a topic that is quite important, rather important nowadays. Thanks a lot. So I will talk about something specific. So I will look at how the reform that increasing retirement age in Germany affected the well-being of pensioners or individuals in Germany, and we will see that I use this change in the reform as an exogenous variation, so that because the characteristic of the reform was such that individual could not self-select into the policy, and this gives an exogenous variation to evaluate the well-being of the pensioners. But before this, so just very briefly, what I will talk about, I will try to skip many things because I think I will not have the time. So, first of all, the macroeconomic context and what has led the German authorities to introduce different reforms in the pension system. What have been very briefly the reforms before and after '92, and I will present shortly the data, the econometric model, and the identification strategy from an econometric point of view, and the results. Oops, I don't know what's going on. I'm going back, sorry. Next. Oh, I don't know what's happening. So this already said, I'm using a difference in difference estimator, using the change in retirement age as an exogenous variation, and so a natural experiment to evaluation the well-being of pensioners. So as we already heard a lot in these days, many OECD countries, the majority of OECD countries, and I would say all developed world, face a challenging problem, that is the aging of the population. This is given first by declining fertility rates that is occurring almost everywhere. And you can see that on this chart, the OECD average and the OECD 34 average, because now, as you know, since last year, we have 4 new member states that are Israel, Estonia, Slovenia, and Chile. So this problem is much lower in Israel, as it has been shown yesterday, and also in some other countries like France, for example, where fertility rates nowadays are almost 2.1, that is the level that is traditionally thought, even if demographers are not always, do not always agree on this, that ensure the renewal of the population under specific mortality and immigration assumption. But you can see that the trend is really a decreasing trend in many OECD countries, and the projections that are provided by United Nations show a rebound in many of these countries, and this is due mainly to specific, in addition to migration policy, but to specific family policy that have been put in place to allow women to reconcile work and family life. In Germany, the decline in total fertility rate was particularly sharp from the late 65s. And you can see that the total fertility rates passed from a level of around 2.5 in the 60-65 to nowadays to a level of 1.36. That is quite worrying because this is implied that future cohorts of contributors, if we think about in terms of the pension system, will be smaller and smaller. And given that the pension system is pay as you go, mainly this implies a kind of breakdown in the solidarity. Another trend that is very important is that life expectancy at birth and the 65 is increasing. You can see on this chart, I'm sorry, it's very small, but the trends, so on this chart we show the data for the period 2005-2010 and the period in blue 2045 and 2050. And as you can see, the United Nations suggests the projection, the world population prospects, this is 2008, suggests an increase in fertility rates that is, on OECD average, is around 3.4 years for men and 3.6 years for women, and for Germany is around the same magnitude, is 3.4 for men and 3.8 for women. So this means that life expectancy is projected to increase still, and this, of course, has a huge implication for the finance of pension system. And the first implication is that, if we look at this chart, is that the expected period spent in retirement is lengthening. So people is experiencing longer and longer period in retirement, and in this chart you can see that the OECD average is 18 years after the effective age of retirement. So this chart, just to explain briefly, is computed as is the difference between the effective age of exit of labor market in the countries that are shown in the chart, and life expectancy that is computed at that specific age nowadays. So it's an average over the period 2005 and 2010. So during this period, what we observe is that on average, men can expect to live to have a retirement period that is 18 years, and women can expect to have a retirement length that is 22 years on average in OECD countries. In Germany, it's slightly higher for women because it is 24 years for women and 19 years for men. And there are other countries where this is particularly even longer, like, for example, in France, that is the countries that show the highest duration in retirement for women, that is 27 years, that is quite a long period, because they showed an increase in life expectancy at the age of exit of labor market. It is the highest among OECD countries. Of course, this trend taken together and imply that population, as I already said, is aging, and that the share of older people is increasing a lot. So in this chart, you can see the share of population of a given age in the total population in Germany. So the green line is the line concerning age 65 and over in the total population, and it's passing from 25% in the total population in 2010 to around 39% in the total population in 2050. What's going on in the age that is 25 and 64, we observe a completely opposite trend. So the population age 25-64 is decreasing, and it's passing from a level that is around 55% in the 50, and it is more or less 56% in 2010 to a level of to a percentage of 39% in 2050. So this has an implication, of course, for age-related expenditures. And this has implication, of course, for the financial sustainability of the pension system. I'm not touching on adequacy of a pension system more or less now, because it has been partially solved in Germany. But this trend, taken all together, also have huge implication in terms of what we call the old age support ratio, that is the number of active people or for each pensioner, for each retirees, or the opposite trend. It's the number of pensioners for each active people. And in Germany, you can see that the trend is quite common in OECD countries. So on average, in OECD, we pass from an old age support ratio of around 7 point to, in 2050, this is projected to decrease to around 2. So 2 persons of active age for 1 pensioners. And in Germany, we are going from 3 persons of active age for 1 retiree in 2010 to almost the half, to 1.6 in 2050. This, of course, has huge impact, not only because we are talking about pensions here, but also in terms of long-term care. We didn't talk at all about this, but this is a very important point because health expenditure are also projected to increase a lot. Now, if we look at pension spending, what's going on is that these are the projections that have been published by the EU in the Aging Report 2009, and you can see that we have in light green what is projected to be public pension expenditure in 2050 and what was the public pension expenditure in 2007. So in many OECD countries, public pension expenditure is still projected to increase, and there is a kind nowadays of what we call demographic determinism, because the countries that have the higher old age support ratio are also those that have the higher pension expenditure and healthcare expenditure. So for Germany, public pension expenditure is projected to increase from a level around 10% of GDP to 12.3%. This chart, I should underline that will not, of course, because it's 2009, does not include the new reform that have taken place in many countries, like in France, that increase retirement age, in Greece also, in Spain, that also all increase or project to increase retirement ages, and of course does not account for the reforms that are taken, as Aviv has just said, in Eastern European countries. But it's very interesting to see that some countries have really a projected increase in public and pension expenditure that is quite large. I note that countries like Italy, I am Italian, and I show this, is one of the countries where pension expenditure is quite deemed to be quite stable, but is not really. We don't really know what's going on, because underlining this projection, there are huge assumptions. So as it was said yesterday, life expectancy projection is based on assumption, and this is based on assumption. And one of the biggest assumptions that is underlining the Italian projection is that employment rates of older workers will pass from 35% to 64%. So it's quite a huge change, and I frankly don't know if it will occur. We hope so. Who knows? So this, I already talked about this. So nowadays we are in a kind of demographic determinism, since there is a very interesting relation and correlation, positive correlation, and significant from a statistical point of view, between the pension expenditures and the dependency ratio. I'm not talking about causality, I'm just talking about correlation. That's important. Following this, as I said, many OECD countries have increased or are planning to increase further retirement age. So the median age in OECD countries is projected to be 65. Taking into account all the reforms that have taken place or will be put progressively in place. As you see, there are some stars in the chart, because there are some countries, as I said, like Spain, Greece, Slovenia, and also Hungary, that are planning to increase further the retirement age. There are some countries that have already moved towards further age increases, and you see these are Australia, Denmark, Germany, Iceland, Israel, Norway, and the United States, where when the reform will be fully in place, the retirement age will be 67, and in United Kingdom, we are going towards 68, and even they are talking now, as in Ireland, about 60, 69, 70 years old. So just to show this, so what has been going on in OECD country is that we assist to a reversal in the trend in pensionable age. So starting in the late 50s, pensionable age was declining, and it reached a kind of nadir, a minimum in 90 for men and for women, at around 61.3 for women and 62.6 for men, and it started to increase again in the late 90s, and this is mainly due to the fact that during, especially in the period going from the 70s to the 90s, there were many countries that put in place early retirement programs or for older workers, so the path was leaving the labor market before the official retirement age. Now the trend, as you can see, has been reversed, and all the countries, as I just shown, are increasing retirement age. And this is because this is one of the topic of the workshop here. Life expectancy at pensionable age is increasing steadily over time. Now, the point, as I said, I'm focusing on the German, on the German pension system. The German pension system has gone through a number of reforms. It's a Bavarian pension system that is a strong link between earnings and contribution. Bismarck. Completely, not Bavarian, is exactly the contrary. Is, I would say, Bismarck. Pension system. So it's an earnings-related pay-as-you-go system that is based on pension points and include pension related to old age, survivors, disability. And it provides specific benefits also for particular absence from the labor market, that is especially child care, in the form of increasing the pension points for some a number of absence out of the labor market, and also some credit for unemployment period. There has been a number of pension reforms going on in Germany, and one of the main target of the recent pension reform has been the one of improving the financial sustainability of the pension system. But another objective that has been always present in the pension reform in Germany has been the one of trying to solve or improving the adequacy also and reduce old age income poverty. Now, concerning the financial sustainability, the intervention that have been aimed to improve financial sustainability of the pension system, these have taken the form of strengthening the second and third pillars, so both the earning-related and the private pension system, voluntary pension system, improve the fairness between generations, and we will see that this has taken the form of the introduction of sustainability factor in the pension system, and accounting also for longevity gains. there is so these two, when I talk about the financial sustainability, the reform have taken the form of increasing the retirement age with the reform of 92 and the following reform 97 and 2004, but also changing the indexation rule of pension benefits. There has been an important also reform that has been the Riester reform in 2001 that has created a state-subsidized capital fund voluntary old age pension provision in the second and third pillar. And there's been an old age in 2004, an old age pension sustainability act that introduced modified the indexation rule and by introduction of a sustainability factor. I will skip all this because it's very complex, but if you want the slides, you will this. So, yeah, okay, fine. Just to show you that before the 92 reform, it was possible, to leave the retirement age was 65, but it was required to leave with one could leave with 5 years of service, and there was the main point here is there was no actuarial adjustment, so people could leave early without any reduction in pension benefit. What happens with the 92 reform is that, first of all, an actuarial adjustment was introduced, but also there was there were increasing retirement ages that were introduced in different, what I call different type of pathway, retirement pathway. For women, it was the working long career. So, and for women, there was a specific retirement pathway, and for disabled worker and unemployed. So this would mean that this reform would have been progressively phased in, increasing the retirement age in the different retirement pathway with 1 month starting from the court that was born in 1937, and increasing the retirement age to be, for example, for them it was 63 and 1 month, towards 65 that would have been achieved and fully in place for the courts born in 1938. This reform was originally the 92 reform, but the initial reform was much slower and has been accelerated by a new law in 97 that accelerated the progress, the speed at which the reform had been put in place. So the identification strategy that we use here is that the treatment status of an individual depends only on his, her birth year and the retirement pathway she or he is in. And therefore we can treat this increase in mandatory retirement age as exogenous, provided that we control for the specific retirement pathway individual is in. What makes things very easy for us is that there is a specific retirement pathway for women that does not confound the disability or the unemployment on the long career one, and so this allows us to really consider a control group before the reform that was not affected because the birth cohort was not touched by the reform, and the treatment group that is the one starting from the cohort 1940 that was affected by the cohort. And this is very useful because in we will see the data we use, but we can't observe, we can't distinguish very well between disabled, unemployed, and long life worker for men. So the identification strategy is really based on this exogenous variation of the policy change and the fact that we have two cohorts that are affected in different way. The identification assumption is just the fact that if there were no reform, I finish in 2 minutes, the evolution of life satisfaction for cohort C1, that is the cohort affected by the reform, between the periods before and after the reform would have been the same than the one for the cohorts that were not affected by the reforms during the period before and after the reform. So I will skip the methodological assumption, and this is the model we estimate. So we have panel data, and we have therefore we have an age effect, a cohort effect, and the treatment that is given, the interaction between the cohort effect and the age effect, and some control variable. The explain, sorry, is life satisfaction. This is what I said. Yeah. Yes, this is what I'm saying. So the data. This is what I said at the beginning. The main idea of the paper is evaluate the effect on life satisfaction of an exogenous variation to the policy. The life satisfaction. Yes. Yeah, so the German socioeconomic panel is a panel data set that started in '84, and each year is asked the question about how are you satisfied with your life. And this satisfaction variable is scaled between 0 and 10, and so we have used this. So the reform, this is for men and for women. What I wanted to show you is on the chart of the right-hand chart for women that show really that for cohorts that have been affected by the reform, they are really retiring later. So there is a kind of discontinuity, important discontinuity in the assignment that is important. This is the next step in the estimation that we are going to see. And life satisfaction doesn't seem to be either a cohort effect, a systematic cohort effect, but seems to be in place some age effects in life satisfaction. You can see, for example, this is life satisfaction for men, for specific ages for women, for the cohort affected by the reform, and there is no really particular difference at the age considered. So the results and the conclusion. You can see what we get for a woman using this identification strategy. We get a very consistent effect towards all the specification that we use. We control for additional variable that I don't present here because we control, for example, for the number of persons in the household, the health status, the age, the education variable. We have here effects and individual fixed effect that allows to get rid of all the variations that are not really related to the treatment. And this is a very nice result because it shows consistently for women affected by the reforms, we have consistently decrease in life satisfaction, and as I said, these results seems to be quite robust to a number of alternative specifications, and it can have important policy implication because, of course, we can think that if women are not so much satisfied, are not trying to leave the labor market through alternative pathways in the future. So the reform that try to increase retirement age is important if it makes sense, if it is effective, and if effective retirement age is increasing and not the contrary. Thanks a lot.